Sugar feeds cancer. You've heard it from a relative, a wellness account, maybe even a nurse, and it has just enough truth in it to be dangerous. I'm Michael Merth, a registered dietitian who spent years in oncology nutrition. Here's what's actually true, what's flatly false, and why getting this wrong can hurt you during treatment. This myth is stickier than most, and there's a reason. It sounds like it comes from a scan. When you get a PET scan, they inject you with a radioactive sugar tracer. Tumors light up on the image because they take up more of that tracer than the tissue around them. A patient sees that scan, sees the tumor glowing, and the conclusion writes itself. The cancer is eating sugar. Stop the sugar, starve the cancer. I understand why that lands. It's visual, it's simple, and it feels like it gives you control at a moment when you have almost none. That last part is why this myth is so hard to kill. It offers a job to a person who's been told to just wait for the next infusion. So let's give the myth its due, because the biology underneath it is real. Back in the 1920s, a German scientist named Otto Warburg noticed that cancer cells burn glucose at a furious rate, and they do it in an inefficient way, even when oxygen is available. Normal cells with oxygen around use a slower, more efficient process. Cancer cells often skip it. That observation is called the Warburg effect, and Warburg won a Nobel Prize for related work. The Warburg effect is why the PET scan works. Cancer cells really are hungry for glucose. Second true thing. Excess added sugar over years does raise your cancer risk. That link is real, but pay close attention to how it works, because the mechanism is the whole point. Here's the break, and it's a big one. Every cell in your body runs on glucose. Your brain runs almost entirely on it. Your red blood cells have no mitochondria at all, so glucose is all they've got. There's no way to remove glucose from your bloodstream and leave your healthy cells untouched, because your healthy cells need it just as much, and your body will not let you do it anyway. Cut carbohydrates to zero, and your liver starts manufacturing glucose out of protein and fat through a process called gluconeogenesis. It will strip amino acids out of your muscle to do it if it has to. Your blood sugar drops somewhat. It never goes to zero. Your body defends that number with everything it has because your brain dies without it. So a tumor sitting in your body is not waiting for your dessert. It's bathed in the glucose your liver guarantees, whether you eat a cookie or eat nothing at all. The real mechanism behind the sugar and cancer link runs through a different door. Chronic excess added sugar drives weight gain and body fat. Excess body fat drives chronically high insulin. High insulin raises a growth signal called insulin-like growth factor 1, or IGF-1, and IGF-1 tells cells to grow and divide and resist dying. Excess fat tissue also pumps out inflammatory signals and, after menopause, more estrogen. That's the chain. Sugar to body fat, to insulin and inflammation, to risk. It's a long-term risk pathway, not a feeding tube to your tumor. The World Cancer Research Fund links obesity to at least 13 types of cancer. It does not tell people with cancer to cut all sugar. Look at where the human evidence actually points. A 2019 study in the BMJ followed more than 100,000 people in the French NutriNet-Sante cohort. A daily rise in sugary drink intake tracked with higher overall cancer risk. The authors pointed at exactly this pathway, the weight and insulin route, not as sugar touching a tumor directly. The finger keeps landing on the same mechanism, and it runs through your waistline over years, not through your plate this afternoon. Now the part that keeps me up, because this myth causes real harm during treatment. Chemotherapy and radiation are catabolic. They break your body down. During treatment, the most common serious nutrition problem I saw was not too many calories. It was too few. Patients lose weight, they lose muscle, and losing muscle during treatment is associated with worse outcomes, more chemotoxicity, more dose reductions, and worse tolerance overall. Now picture a patient in that state who believes sugar feeds cancer. They're nauseated. Food tastes like metal. The one thing they can keep down is a smoothie, or toast with jam, or a nutrition shake, and they refuse it, because they think they're starving the tumor. They are not starving the tumor. They are starving themselves. I've watched patients arrive at appointments having lost 15 pounds of muscle chasing a myth, and their treatment plan paid for it. That is the actual cost of this idea. So here's what to do instead. If you're in active treatment, your job is to eat enough. Protect your weight and your muscle. Aim for 1.2 to 1.5 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, which is the ESPEN guideline range for people with cancer. If a scoop of ice cream is what gets calories and protein into you on a bad day, eat the ice cream. That is not a failure of discipline. That's clinical nutrition. If you're in remission or you're eating for prevention, then yes, cut back on added sugar. Not because it feeds tumors, but because it drives the body fat and insulin pathway that raises your risk over years. Whole foods, fiber, plants, and enough protein. Sweetened drinks are the place to start, since they hit your bloodstream fastest and fill you up least. The distinction is the entire message. Treatment and prevention are different jobs, and the same advice does not serve both. You cannot starve a tumor without starving yourself first. Your body will not let you, and trying is how people lose the muscle they need to finish treatment. Who told you sugar feeds cancer? Drop it in the comments. I read them. And if you want the plain English guide to what your labs are actually telling you during treatment, the link is below.